Welcome everybody to the final broadcast booth. This is the last time we'll be doing this. That's how you drum up interest for the next one, right? Last one ever?
Everything's the last time. There's always a retirement in wrestling.
This is the first one and the last one.
Never before, never again.
This is the last ride for Mercy.
Disregard the WrestleMania one. No, we did one a while back, and this is not the last one. That's just, I'm working brother. And I'm joined by some really good working brothers tonight. The Wordsmith has joined the broadcast booth, an actual commentator from Australia. It's good brother Sean Fuster joining us for the commentary. How you doing?
Good evening, people of the Patreon tribe. This is the Wordsmith, Sean Fuster. I'm surrounded by these ingrates and miscreants, but we are going to bring you the best in wrestling action, whether or not the company wants to call it wrestling anymore. That's right. We are going back to where it all didn't begin.
It's wrestling. Going wrestling. Yeah. And also joining us tonight is the big heel, Danny Blanchard, a.k.a. Scott. How you doing, good brother?
Oh, I'm great. This is going to be good.
Yeah, one of my favorite matches. And Jack Disco. How you doing, Jack?
I'm good. How you guys?
Excellent. And we're also joined by Sean Gurton. How you doing?
Doing good.
Excellent. And also, I was not aware of this, but Sean's just informed me, Sean G has informed me that you are one of the legendary Road Warriors, Road Warrior Max.
Yep.
So what part of the Doomsday device do you do? The hoist up on the shoulders or the clothesline off the top?
I'm usually the guy that's getting the Doomsday device. No.
You know, I gotta share a story before we roll this. I've been listening to The Lapsed Fan, which is an awesome podcast, and they were talking about this match in Japan years ago between the Road Warriors. It was in 1991, I believe, or 1990, probably 91. Hulk Hogan and Tenryu, I think, versus the Road Warriors. And right before they go out for the match, Road Warrior Animal's asking Vince, what's the finish? And Vince goes, okay, I got the finish for you. So Hogan's going to pick you up on his shoulders. And then Tenryu's going to clothesline you off the top rope and you're going to get pinned. And that was the finish. And the Road Warriors said, nope.
That's not going to work for me, brother.
Yeah. They gave Hogan a "that's not going to work for me, brother," and the Road Warriors, I think, won by pinning Tenryu. I think. Anyways, we're watching.
Tell me that was in his hometown.
Well, home country. We're watching one of my favorite matches of all time. I absolutely love Hogan versus Warrior. For me, it's Batman versus Superman, or any other big superhero versus big superhero. It was unheard of at the time, and it's really cool that to this day, when I think of this match, I still think it's the meeting of the superpowers, not Dusty Rhodes and Nikita Koloff, but or Mega Powers, not Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. But still, it was just the match that should have happened, and it should have been that good, but it was just probably in my mind the real perfect storm of wrestling. Like, none of this should have came off as well as it did, but it did. And I'm really happy to be watching this tonight with you guys. So you can find this around. It's been on a bunch of DVD sets, but easiest way to watch it is on the network. Easiest way to find it is simply type in Hogan versus Warrior. And we're going to be doing the first meeting, just to specify. We're not watching the Halloween Havoc match.
What? Wait a minute.
That's next time.
I just flash paper for nothing?
You try to blind that man.
Yeah. Warrior was stamping on that thing like an old man stamps on a burning bag of dog crap.
I have spent weeks preparing for this match by talking to a damn mirror, and now you tell me I don't need it?
Yeah. So Hogan versus Warrior on the network, and I'm going to give you a countdown, and I know that the network has a little bit of load time, so we're going to experience it. You're going to experience it. We should sync up, but I'll give you some, like we did with the WrestleMania 1 match, just some cues to let you know if you're in generally the right spot. All right, everyone ready out there? And here we go. 3, 2, 1, play. Loading.
Give Vince your $9.99.
That's how Isn't it like $29.99 now? Oh, rest in power, Fink.
That voice will never be matched.
Yeah.
And new.
Title for title, so rare back in those days. Not just the, babyface versus babyface aspect of things, but actually doing title unification matches.
Yeah, especially like whenever there was a title for title, it was just a schmoz.
Mm.
It would always be a double count out, double disqualification. All those WWF versus NWA title for title matches.
Yep.
Love that yellow Intercontinental belt. Didn't last long, but just love the look of it.
Do you know how many yellow cows died to make that belt? I mean, the entirety of the yellow cow population is now extinct, and you know why? It's because of that man right there.
I was going bananas. Look at that.
Wow. Can you see where you were sitting?
I'm I think I'm hard camera. I don't know. I know I was facing the Jumbotron, so it had to be like, I can't tell from this angle. Dang.
Facing the hard camera. A worker even in your young days. Always know where the camera is. And that was quite a distance to run down.
Yeah.
But we were saying
Here's a funny game to play. Take Warrior's music and his entrance and put it on somebody else. Like, what if like Akeem?
Oh, Yokozuna.
I would have. I would have put it on Drew McIntyre when in his first WWE run. You know, when he had the slow walk to the ring.
I think the funniest is when you put it on the big heel Danny Blanchard.
Oh, I trained with Kevin Nash for 5 months for that entrance.
Or Tully. Actually, Tully is funnier.
Well, it's a little known fact that music was actually written for the big heel, but he stubbed his toe on the first time he went out gorilla and just couldn't perform anymore. Isn't that right, big heel?
Oh, my face was burnt from the match. I hit it so many times.
Slid right under the ring, Titus O'Neil style. I just love how split the crowd is here. This is such a unique match where they didn't blow it by turning Warrior heel going into it. And it almost felt like they did turn him heel. Some of his promos were really sinister. You know, the whole tear down the cockpit door. I remember thinking, did he just turn heel in a promo? Like, he's really, amping up the whole anger aspect of his character. But no, it was babyface versus babyface. And I think, because sometimes when you have a face versus face, a face sort of temporarily turns heel in the match, like Brett did against Bulldog.
Somebody's got to work.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to work heel, otherwise the match simply doesn't work, which is why the whole concept of there are no faces, there are no heels, okay, maybe in promos, but in the ring there still has to be a leader and a dance partner.
That happens all the time, but do you think in this match, like, Warrior, I guess, sort of, if either of them kind of lean a little towards heel, it's Warrior, because he's the one that takes cheap shots at Hogan when his knee's gone. My knee's gone, brother, my knee's gone.
Yeah, but Hogan never really worked babyface. If you think about it, the eye gouges, the back rakes. Like Austin, he always worked heel. It's just that we liked him for it.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know, like coming up to like long time ago, like when I'm thinking back, when I was watching the promos as a kid, I felt it was just 50-50. I never got the impression that Warrior was heel in his promo. Even the crazier ones as the date approached, it's like, wow, he's really amped up in this match. He's ready to go. And Hogan's ready to go. It's like, I just felt like at this point, I didn't even have a preference. Like, this is going to be like amazing. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, let alone like what happens to the belts. Like, I was like really into this storyline. It's like, wow, like, is somebody going to hold 2 belts? Is one guy gonna like, I don't know. It was just strange. Like, I'm looking at this as like, this is really strange. It's like, I don't know, Optimus Prime versus Leader One. I don't know. It's like,
yeah,
weird.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Warrior, he'd push the ref around some of his matches and stuff. I always kind of thought of him as not a good guy or a bad guy, but
It's true, and he does.
Yeah.
I think he throttles Sean Mooney in the promo before this match at Wrestle. Like, doesn't he shove him out of the way and say, or maybe it was a previous event leading up to this, saying, "You don't deserve to breathe the air of myself and Hulk Hogan." So both of them were really getting on each other's nerves, which just added to the tension and the excitement of the match. And I love these little things Warrior did leading up. Like, he was standing on the second rope, elevating himself above Hulk Hogan. Even though he was the lesser champion going in, he's doing these things like on the rope, or he's shorter than Hulk, but he's looking down on Hulk somehow. Like, he had his head up and looking down on him. He turned the color of the Intercontinental Belt yellow to make it look bigger than it was, or more special than it used to be. He's all painted and tasseled. Even his chest is painted. So I like that despite being clearly the number 2 guy going into it, he's acting like he's on Hogan's level.
It's all subtle storytelling. I mean, even things like the shove just then. When Warrior shoved Hogan, Hogan went less distance than Warrior went when Hogan shoved him. Yeah. The implication being, at this point, Hogan is the stronger man. They're trying to build that almost underdog type feel to it when neither man has been an underdog for a very, very long time. You've got to reset the rules of storytelling when it comes to this sort of concept.
Mm-hmm. Perfect guy for Warrior to run into, to basically, it's similar to Bill Goldberg's streak where no one knew who's going to stop this guy. He's unstoppable. And then not a lot of people are satisfied with how Goldberg's streak ended. I see this as sort of an ending to Warrior's streak, even though he won the belt and he went on to be champion for several months. I feel like this is the end of his stratospheric rise, as
it's kind of the end of the storyline, right?
Yeah,
the high point.
Yeah. And it's not the end of Hogan, but it does feel like, because for me, when the Warrior got the world title, I was talking with Cognito about this on the Toy Guys Talking a few months ago. Just something seemed off. Like, he stopped painting his face completely. He just put it on his cheeks. And he was talking about the little kid warriors. And it's just, they tweaked him to be more corporate friendly. And this match is definitely the end of the snarling beast. I don't care. Swing the belt around. I don't care if I destroy it. Madman, kind of Bruiser Brody style Warrior.
Same thing happened to Savage as well.
Ah, yes, absolutely.
It's like when what Mick told Rocky in the third movie, like, you got civilized.
That's true.
You lost that edge.
That's true.
I remember, like, the coming up to this match, like, usually when you have, like, you have a match coming up, it's always like, the heel gets up on the baby face, and the baby comes up on the heel, like, they get run-ins, like, on shows prior to this match. And, like, in this case, like, every time these guys got together before the big main event, like, they always do this one spot where they clothesline each other and they take each other out, and no one's getting up right after that. They both knock each other out. It's like, it's clearly 50-50. They can't beat each other. They were, like, both equally strong. Or
they cancel each other out.
Exactly.
Has there ever really been a feud like that, or a match? I mean, it's also, I think, beautiful that they never had a rematch, that this was the one thing, and maybe they should have at WrestleMania 7, but, like, I can't think of too many feuds where guys just canceled each other out so perfectly. And when Warrior wins, it's by the skin of his teeth. Like, no one feels like he definitively beat Hogan. He just barely beat him.
I've got to be honest, I think the feud cancelled itself out because there is no other point you can go. There's nowhere else you can go. A rematch is never going to be as satisfying as this.
Other than a heel turn.
There's nothing left.
Yeah, other than a heel turn. Like, if Warrior had kept the belt, basically like Savage, like if he had gotten corrupted over a year as champion and basically repeat the Savage.
Oh,
love that.
Now, I think it's a great match. Warrior gets so much criticism for not being a good worker, but I think he's a lot better than many wrestling purists give him credit for. I think his execution is fantastic. His slams are like, he's talked about it in that shoot interview he did years ago, but his slams, his suplexes, back suplexes, the guy was doing axe handles off the top rope.
Yeah, both of them are good, what I call charismatic workers. The
Yes.
charisma, the character is prominent, but there's enough in-ring get up and go to back it up. And really, for some performers, that's all you need. Not everybody needs to be an AJ Styles. Not everybody needs to be a Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Some people need to be persona first and work rate second. And this is one of those rare times where it works for both of them in the one match.
Now, I don't know if he was safe. I'll give that to the people who criticize him for hurting people. But then, there's Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody and Vader. I mean, there's, if you asked Warrior, he would say, I worked snug. I was taught in Texas by guys killing me, and I thought that's how you do it. So it's funny. Most people don't ever associate this guy with Bruiser Brody, but when I heard him say that, I thought, well, yeah, he really is kind of a Bruiser Brody type of lay it in, work snug. And his knee's gone, brother. What's up with this? Do you think this is because it doesn't lead to anything, right? Gorilla has to cover it later on when Hulk has no issue with his knee whatsoever. Oh, it popped back into place, Jesse. he's not injured, Gorilla.
Oh, that pushing the referee. There you
That's
go.
a disqualification. Can you imagine?
Oh, I would have been mad as a kid. Like, what? you made me sit through Brooklyn Brawler versus whoever he was going after. I'm trying to remember that. I can't remember the card. It was so long ago.
Look at that double eye rake, double choke. It's just so awesome.
Yeah.
And they're both
It's
Breaks
weird.
down.
It's weird of all the times I've watched this match, I've gone through like phases. So when I first watched it, I was like, oh man, it's really cool. Like they're both awesome. And then I watch wrestling for a number of years. I come back to this and I'm like, my God, they've done 3 moves in like 15 minutes. What is going on here? But then I watch it now again and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome.
Hey, they only needed 3 moves. So that
Right.
the crowd, they've got the crowd with them everywhere they're going. They're working smarter, not harder. They're telling exactly the story they need to tell. If one of them suddenly busts out a Hurricane Runner or something like that, we'd be taken completely out of it because that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
One thing I'm really noticing about Warrior in this particular match, I know he's fast, but man, just even an Irish whip being whipped into the corner, that dude is a lot faster than most other wrestlers his build. Like Luger didn't have that speed.
Yeah.
Did Von Erich even have it, Kerry?
I would say so.
He
I
might
would
have.
say so.
He's about the same speed as Kerry, but
But he
definitely
doesn't have Kerry didn't have the power the Warrior did, I wouldn't say.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So surprisingly fast.
There's also a lot more back and forth than either of their matches are. They're both so much from the Vern Gagne school of take all the punishment and then make a Messiah-like comeback at the end. And this is actually going backwards and forwards rather than either of them playing that role in this.
Look at that small package by the Hulkster. Now that's a match I would have loved to have seen: Ultimate Warrior versus Vern Gagne. Well, I'm gonna take you down to the barn and tie you like a pretzel. Yeah, this is very interesting. So we were talking earlier, who turned heel? They both turn heel in this match. They both go from kind of ornery babyface to they're healing it up. Brilliant. Patterson's an absolute genius, for laying the match out the way he did. Great selling too from Warrior. He's really making Hogan look powerful. He's from the old school of, I'm going to make this guy look amazing, so when I beat him, I look amazing.
Well, that's right. If you beat someone that's too easy, you've beaten no one. You're a chump.
Mm-hmm. Look at Earl just winding up for those. Gotta
sure
give
it's
some
Earl,
credit.
not Dave?
Earl,
TNA Hall of Famer Earl Hebner.
the plastic surgery brother. Yeah, baby Earl is really he's Tommy Younging it up there. Man, even Earl's fast.
And he had hair in those days.
So one thing to point out, the Jumbotron up there, years before the Titantron existed. Probably got the idea for the Titantron from Skydome, Toronto Skydome's Jumbotron. really cool to be
He's
able
not
to watch a
exactly
close up.
that in. Looks a little loose to me, Gorilla.
All right, I'm probably like 50 rows up from that WrestleMania sign you see over there.
Can you just wave so we can see you?
Retroactively.
A 10-year-old me
All right,
waving.
wait 15 seconds. This is where I wave because I just thought in case in 30 years maybe someone's watching this back.
He's going for the hair.
You should go for the mustache.
I was probably so marking out like, oh my god.
What was your reaction to the end of the match, Jack?
I was like, honestly, I didn't like. As a kid, I was like, I honestly thought it was going to be like Hogan was going to win somehow because like he always felt like he was always like, okay, he was always the go-to guy. Like he never lost the big matches at WrestleMania. Well, he didn't lose. He didn't lose at that period in my life. It's like he always won, or if he didn't win, it was because some weird shenanigans by Flair. But yeah, it was like when Warrior won, it was like I'm shocked, and then I was like, oh well, okay, this make it wasn't like he shouldn't be champion. It was more like I'm just shocked, and I just saw the changing of the guard. When I think about it now, it's like because at that point you're right, like Warrior was the man, he was the top guy, and all of a sudden I was not a Hulkamaniac, I was a little Warrior at that point, I guess.
Yeah, I was shocked too. I found out by reading the paper because there was no internet, and you didn't find out until the weekend show, WWF Superstars, on Saturday, what happened. So Monday morning, Toronto Sun, because it was in Toronto, the Toronto Sun covered it, and there was a picture of Warrior hoisting 2 belts, and I just couldn't believe it. I thought this whole thing was concocted to make Hulk Hogan an Intercontinental Champion so that he would have those bragging rights. I thought, oh, the belt's yellow because they're foreshadowing he's going to win the belt, the yellow belt, brother. So, and I thought that was the only reason, just so that he can say, I've been both world and Intercontinental Champion. Oh, there's that double clothesline.
It's the double. Yeah, I thought if there was ever going to be a double champion, Hogan was like the go-to. But
yeah, he'd have the honor of that. But it's funny they gave it to Warrior, and then years later they gave that honor to Chris Jericho. You'd think they would have given that to Rock or Austin, but they said no. Chris Jericho gets that honor. Like they use that big milestone to build somebody instead of, like, does Harley Race really need an 8th or 9th world title? Like when you're established, you don't need any more.
You're damn right I do.
I'm surprised Harley didn't come out here. Somebody hit me. I got a bump for the business.
And Hogan's never held the IC belt.
Well, so far. Yet.
So, there's still time.
A wheelchair match for the Intercontinental Championship.
Oh, this
Zimmer frame versus Zimmer frame.
This is the part where Warrior starts to... Was there ever a name for this? Warrioring up?
I think everything's hulking up.
He's doing the
Was he
Batista thing.
feeling the power of the Warrior or hearing the spirits or something?
Yeah. He's feeding off the crowd. Yeah.
Feeding off the electricity.
He's doing
it's
his...
so amazing to see Hogan, who's done this to countless heels, now like, what am I dealing with, brother? The chest butt. A lot of people don't know what that was there. It's not a head. It's called a headbutt, but it's not. It's a chest butt. And he didn't do it very often, but I saw some matches leading up to this with either jobbers or, some other heels, Mr. Perfect. But he would grab you and just drive your head into his chest, into his granite chest, the chest butt.
Hogan's gassed out at this point. He couldn't actually do the sequence there with the multiple clotheslines. He just could not get up.
And Warrior's like, I haven't been able to breathe for 13 minutes. Get up.
I was always worried about his circulation in his arms. Those bands are so tight.
It's a great looking suplex right there. I love how, despite how gassed he is, Warrior is still, acting intense. Even though he doesn't have his wind, he's always been like that. He's always breathing hard, and but he's still like behaving with intensity. He's not. His tongue isn't hanging out, and it's not affecting his body language. And you got to have the bear hug rest hold. I think we both need a breather, brother. Listen, dude.
You hold me up, I'll hold you up, and let's have a conversation about where the hell we are in the match.
I think Hulk just tore the pocket off of Earl's shirt.
Yep.
That should be a disqualification. Can you imagine? Ding, ding, ding. The winner of this match as a result of a disqualification.
What always fascinates me is the fact that this is, of course, Toronto, as you guys have pointed out. And this is where the rebirth of Hulkamania happens in the mid-2000s after the questionable NWO run in WWF/E. And the idea that this is where he dropped the belt, and yet this is where he was anointed again by the fandom, where the nostalgia was its strongest, has just always fascinated me.
I remember before that WrestleMania, like when he was in WCW still, they did a stop here, did a Nitro at the Skydome, I guess. Yeah, like the crowd was really into Hogan. Like everyone knew he was a heel, and the NWO were heels, but they came in as like heroes, especially when Hogan came out. Like. So, yeah, I guess we always had a soft spot for the Hulkster. Anytime he comes back to Toronto, you know, you might as well, like, just put a maple leaf on his back. He's like an ordinary Canadian.
Well, let's not put a maple leaf on his back, because, you know, then he has to be associated with that hockey team, and we don't want that happening.
Oh.
Did I just turn on you, brother?
I'm okay with it. If you went after the Senators, I'd have an issue, but no.
This bear hug has been going a while.
Squeeze in the edge.
Yeah, these days, some fan somewhere would have inflated a beach ball and sent it around. If the rest hold went on this long.
What do you got to say, Jim Ross? This is bowling shoe ugly.
It's like that classic Cesaro Daniel Bryan headlock match.
Oh, I love that match.
It's a great match.
Oh, that was another great thing about this. Like they both had basically, yeah, I think you was alluded before. Like they both had the same idea. You take a lot of punishment, and all of a sudden you psych yourself up and you go crazy. And Hogan had the same deal too.
Oh man, did he eat that? That was almost a Dean Ambrose wobble line.
Whoa.
Here comes that.
He went down
handle.
tougher than a $2 steak.
Look how comfortable he looks on the top rope there. Like he's not wobbling. Like the guy, he has a deceptive amount of balance and grace for such a big, muscular, so-called bodybuilder. Like those are Randy Savage style. Perfect axe handles.
He's still getting those knees up.
Yeah.
Got to pump the blood back into the heart.
Heels to the butt. I think Hogan botches this. I think he was supposed to take the one before, but quick thinking, like Warrior just kept going. I'm sure that's happened to him a lot. Like
that, or he and Boss had a conversation backstage, and Andre's like, "Just step out of the way. Don't put your fist up. Just step out of the way."
Damn it, get Dave out here.
So we got to have this in here, the what if, right? Had him beat.
The Phantom, yeah.
This would be the point where young Sean was flipping a table.
Roughing up the rough.
Young Sean would have been flipping a table right there in frustration.
Like Shawn Michaels' old finishing maneuver in the old NES game. SNES game. Okay, both of them. You both win.
Count themselves. That's great.
Who's the real heel in this match? The referee.
Wake the hell up. Woo!
You know, I didn't watch this match for years once I found out the result, because we were always on delay here in Australia. You know, it'd take about 6 months for the Coliseum home videotapes to reach us here in Adelaide. So I heard about the result of this match, and I'm like, nope, not watching it. Sort of like finding out the endings of Empire Strikes Back. Nope, not watching it. Hand gets cut off. Nope, not interested. Hogan loses. Nope, not interested. So I reckon it was maybe a full year to 2 years after this came out when I finally sat down and watched it. Oh, in WCW, that'd be a disqualification over the top rope.
The NWA rule.
There you go. They're clobbering.
Ding! I'm glad that Hogan didn't do the blade job here. I don't think this is one of the times where I don't think blood would have added to the match.
No.
Just you know, with the superhero or the comic book hero
Right,
thing, you don't want blood for this.
Yeah.
There's enough color in that ring already, brother.
Yeah.
Now, if this was like Flair Rhodes or something, the blood would work and it would make sense, but it doesn't make sense here.
It wasn't a blood feud. That was the thing, right? It was basically just two superpowers colliding.
Matter of pride.
And, it was just a matter of who's the bigger hero, who's the strongest hero. It wasn't exactly a.
Now, Warrior himself says, I didn't get him up. People always tell me, oh, you got him up. And Warrior's like, no, I didn't. But it sure looked good enough from the angle they caught it from.
Yeah.
And it works for the story too. Why should he be able to get Hogan perfectly up? Because if they're equal forces, you can't have that kind of dominant move.
That's right. And plus, probably Hogan wasn't helping him much. But
he was. If you look back, he was helping. He was not sandbagging him at all. I was watching his arms just then.
Because Road Warrior Animal, I've seen the same thing when Road Warrior Animal pressed Hogan in their match in Japan. And it looks like Hogan's helping, but in the book, in Animal's book, Animal says, no, he wasn't helping. I mean, his hand was there, but he wasn't helping. He was sandbagging me.
I think it's also very popular to shoot on Hogan. It's a very quick way of getting some good pop.
What's amazing about the Road Warrior press is Animal just got him up anyway on his own. Here we go. Here's the end. Beautiful.
Oh my God. I've never seen a counter.
And
a counter to the leg drop.
2.5.
Beautifully done.
He is so exhausted, but this is it. This is the pinnacle of your career. I love the simultaneous Warrior celebrating while Hogan is collapsing.
Yeah.
Praying to his God. I don't remember any time it was ever countered. That was it was great. Like it was a counter. It wasn't the usual like small package or slipping the banana peel or something.
It's nice that he didn't kick out of the leg drop. You know.
No! Protect the finisher.
Yeah, he just simply avoided it.
I've always preferred that. And then this is the way it should be done too. Get out of the ring, clear the ring, give him some space, let him have his moment, come back in for the spot afterwards. Don't just stay in there and soak up his spotlight.
Don't be a pineapple Pete.
Yeah.
No, he's taking the belt with him.
He's taking it to Ring of Honor.
With tears in his eyes. This was also a moment too.
Against Colt Cabana.
This was a moment because the match was great. Like we were hyped the entire time, but at this point was this was the there you go.
Passing of the torch.
Nowadays, they could have teased that for a couple of minutes. They would have been, staring at each other in different camera angles. No, that's what it needed to be for babyface and babyface. Just here you go.
Yeah. Good
they
point.
both raised each other's hands and
it's nice that it's not that Hogan isn't staying and posing. Just leave, man. Just go home.
Yep, it's the way it should be done.
No ill feelings, anyways. They both came out as baby faces. There's no Hogan sneering or I'm gonna get you next time, brother, or something. It was more like, oh, here you go, you won, respect, and walk out. And there's a small ring. There you go.
Give me this ring.
I'm gassed.
It's a feel-good match. That's, I think, why I keep going back to it and watching it so often. That it doesn't have a dusty finish. Even despite not having a dusty finish, everybody goes home happy. Like I think the
shorter
Warrior
than I remember too.
Mm-hmm. I think the Warrior fans are happy. I think the Hogan fan. I mean, Sean Wordsmith, you're a big Hogan fan. How did you feel, and how do you feel today?
Like I said, I didn't watch it for ages because I wasn't prepared to acknowledge the result. When I did watch it, I was unimpressed. The young me was like, no. Nowadays, I can look back and see it exactly as what it was and the way it was done. It's just a shame that it didn't take, that this was, as we've said, the end of Warrior's meteoric rise. And as per usual, when Vince gets his hands on something organic and tries to turn it into what he wants it to, it dies.
Yeah, so true. So that happens so often, as with Macho.
Yep,
like
as with Macho, as it would later with so many people,
Cena.
Shawn Michaels, Roman Reigns, Cena. The moment he tries to turn it into what he wants it to be, the organic babyface push dies out.
Yeah, Mantar.
So here's your last moment, folks, of a free-range, fully organic Ultimate Warrior.
Yep, happened to Mantar and Bastion Booger too. Leaf Cassidy. Oh man, great match.
It was.
Scott, I don't think we talked about your reaction to this match when it originally happened. What was your take?
I thought it was really cool that they gave Warrior both belts. It's because I'd never seen it before, and it's something new. And kind of Warrior was new. He'd been around obviously for a little while, but he's still new, and he was going to carry the belt. But like Sean said, it didn't continue that long. But I enjoyed it for the moment that it was, and I thought it was really cool when it happened.
Mm-hmm. And Sean G, Road Warrior Max.
Yeah, I feel the same way. But I think Warriors should have had.
Blanchard, have you hit him with a chair?
Tire iron.
My God, this man was here, sitting next to us at commentary just 10 seconds ago. I blink and Blanchard's holding a bloody crowbar and he's gone.
I love, Sean, how you pronounce Blanchard. Blanchard.
That's awesome.
You know what I really wish? I wish that they did more with the. I guess they weren't. It wasn't a thing at the time, but it was like when I heard that Warrior was going to relinquish the Intercontinental title. I thought it should have been a much bigger deal because it was like a side note on Sean Mooney, Event Center updates. It was like, oh, by the way, Ultimate Warrior decided to relinquish the Intercontinental title. It's like, oh, I wish they would have made more of a big show of it. Like Warrior presenting it as a prize for a tournament or something.
Yeah, I agree that they built it up to be such a big thing, title for title, and then never mind. We're having a tournament, and I've heard on the podcasts. I think there was the Bruce Pritchard podcast where he talks about that thing, and he was like, Vince's attitude was just, get rid of it. He relinquishes it. And Bruce is like, but Vince, we sort of made a huge deal out of this. And Vince just, screw it. So you had a great thing, and I would have loved to see Warrior defend both belts, kind of like what they did years later when Seth had the world and the US titles.
Yeah.
Exactly that type of thing. Have two matches, or like Becky did, right, just this past year with the two belts. But they didn't want Warrior jobbing or getting screwed. But that could have been like a perfect setup for Rick Rude. Rick Rude beats Warrior for the Intercontinental title at a Saturday night's main event by screwing him out of the belt, and then goes into SummerSlam as the Intercontinental champion, challenging for the world title.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that Vince McMahon doesn't care about the Intercontinental Championship? I'm shocked. Shocked and appalled that you would suggest such a thing, and that history backs you up 150%.
They should have.
It's too bad because it's one of the better belts.
They should have had Pat Patterson win the title again in Rio de Janeiro. Off screen. It's like, he beat the Warrior. Oh yeah. They could have done so much, and I kind of wish this world title run was bigger than it ended up being. Because like I'm trying to rack my brains. I don't remember who Warrior was up against as as the first opponent as the world champion. It's like I'm really trying to think. It's like I don't remember. It wasn't that memorable, I suppose. But
It was like Ted DiBiase, I think, in Japan. He literally, like, the next, maybe 2 nights later, he wrestled Ted in Japan for the SWS show. Haku on Saturday Night's main event.
Yeah, I
maybe.
remember Haku.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't. That was another problem with Warrior's reign. There was no one to feed him.
Yeah.
I thought the Warriors should have had a longer title reign too. Yeah, it was big in my high school. Everyone was talking about it.
So that's Hogan versus Warrior, pretty much the biggest wrestling match for me. I mean, as the years go by, I love Flair Steamboat in terms of work quality. Brett, Bulldog, lots of great matches, but this one just does not feel like a wrestling match to me. It feels like one of those Marvel Dream crossover things, or it really does feel like Optimus Prime versus Leader One. And I often say with the heroes, they wouldn't fight, but if they did for some strange reason over a matter of pride, this feels like what that would be. So thanks again to Sean, Scott, Jack, and Sean for joining me for this commentary. And thanks to the Patreon tribe for providing the channel Patreon Power. Keep an eye out for some more wrestling commentaries coming soon. I'm going to be laying some commentary tracks for some classic NES 8-bit wrestling games, so that should be a lot of fun too. Until then, what you going to do when you feel the power?